For those of you who don't know, Chrono Shift was a project made by an independent group of people, and basically what it was a group of people trying to bring back Season 2 of League of Legends, which would have been cool. I mean, a lot of people really like Season 2, Season 3, and all of the classic stuff. There are characters back there that are different now because of reworks or what have you, and I think personally that it was a kind of cool project, but very recently some news came out, and the news was that they kind of, I'm using the word kind of because it gets deeper. It was kind of a cease and desist because it was from a Discord account that wasn't directly attached to Riot. Me personally, as you guys know, I've worked with Riot a couple of times. I've modeled for them. I just did an ad for them with Wild Rift. So I myself expected this to be fake because it, you know, I could show you the messages real quick. You could read all of this for yourself. I will link it in the description. But TLDR, Zed says some crazy stuff, basically demanding that they hand over the code to their project and also threatens them with legal action. Says stuff like, I'm here as the not lawyer. And then he says that my favorite quote of this entire thing, you've obviously put a lot of work into Chrono Shift, which is the name of the project, obviously, but I assure you that Chrono Break is coming. He even italicized it. And this entire thing, if you read it, I'll link it in the description, is basically boiling down to him threatening him and saying, hey, send us your code and give us your website or else we're going to sue you. And obviously, I took to Twitter. I was like, this looks like bullshit, because when you think about it, Riot is a company with over 10,000 employees. And why on earth would Riot, as a company with 10,000 employees, do something as silly as sending a guy like this who said all of these ridiculously stupid things? Why would they send him as the start of a cease and desist, where in all instances, this is a very bad look, in court or not in court, just in general? The PR of this entire thing is miserable. All of this stuff was tweeted on Twitter, and it all has hundreds of retweets, and everybody's already up at arms against Riot. And me, being the smart person that I am, what I said immediately when I saw all of this was, there's no fucking way. There is no way that this is actually Riot. How is Riot going to send their most angsty, edgelord, teenage son with the least amount of professionalism to cease and desist an entire project? But apparently, news came out today, and I guess they kind of talked about it before, but news came out today that this was real. I didn't expect it to be real, and I do want to take a quick pause here and say that it would be dumb to expect it to be real, because again, as from a business standpoint, all of this is super duper bad. Riot could have just emailed from their legal team in general, right? And if they emailed from their legal team in general, it would have looked a lot better. It would have been a lot more professional, and it obviously wouldn't have had as terrible PR as this entire stunt that this fucking Zed guy did was, right? But now, because of this Zed guy, there's a ton of bad PR going around about Riot and what they did, and I'm going to get more into that in a second. But I'm bringing all of this up because I thought it was funny that before it was even proven for this to be a real thing, everyone was up at arms, because there's like this thing that a lot of people do where they generalize Riot Games, and they're like, well, guess what? Riot did one bad thing in past, and since Riot did one bad thing in past, that mean that this true? Before there was any actual proof, people were all like, this has to be true, because in the past, Riot has done this one bad thing. And on top of that, they nerfed Rengar 3 times in a row, so Riot will definitely send something so unprofessional to deal with a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. So I obviously came at it with skepticism. Turned out to be true. Very unfortunate. I want to do my best to be like, there's no way Riot can stoop that low, but alas, they did. Anyways, long story short, this turned out to be true. And it's really unfortunate that this did turn out to be true, because a lot of people were super duper stoked for it, right? A lot of people wanted Chrono Shift to happen because there are people like myself who enjoyed characters that no longer exist in the game. For me, it would be old Sion or old Warwick or old Skarner, who had an AP ratio on his E. Instead of stunning people, it used to heal him, so I used to go Skarner mid, etc., etc., etc. It is unfortunate that Chrono Shift got completely halted in the most unfortunate way possible, but here's where we just look at it objectively, okay? Everyone is upset at Riot for killing Chrono Shift. Obviously, a lot of people are upset at Riot also because of the unprofessionalism that lies in this entire thread of messages. Again, I've linked it below. But long story short, I don't know what people expected to happen when a group of people independently try to use League of Legends' IP and rebuild something that League of Legends doesn't have available from the ground up. If we look at it objectively, obviously, if there's a lot of people that would go and play Chrono Shift, I might go and play Chrono Shift sometimes. Who knows how deep Chrono Shift was going to be? What if they had their own rank mode? What if there were people trying to hit Challenger in Chrono Shift? How big were the servers going to be, etc., etc.? Riot Games, in turn, because of this classic server that was going to exist, will end up losing hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Why? Because a lot of people who are really nostalgic for the old game would end up going to the old game and not playing their new game. And in turn, if you look at it as a business, they won't be paying for skins in the new game, etc., etc., etc. On top of that, we could even boil down to like, what were they going to do with skins on Chrono Shift? Obviously, they weren't going to be able to charge for it, because if they charged for it, that would be like the most extremely illegal thing ever. But were people going to be able to access skins that are previously hidden behind paywalls? Were people going to be able to access those skins for free on Chrono Shift? No matter which way you slice this, from a business perspective, Riot is completely in their legal right. And it's unfortunate, because at the end of the day, Chrono Shift is a very exciting project, and a lot of people were super duper excited for it, and rightfully so. But you can't really fault Riot for it. And someone brought up on Twitter, because I talked about it on Twitter. But someone said, oh, well, isn't this the same thing as emulators? And how emulators are trying to be stopped because companies are trying to stop emulators from emulating their old games. And to that, I respond, no, it isn't. Because, yes, sometimes emulators are like, companies don't want you emulating old games because they're going to re-release them, like a Scott Pilgrim remake being released on Steam and all that stuff. The Scott Pilgrim game would lose money if people emulated it on PS3 emulators to play it, instead of just waiting for the re-release of it and actually playing it like that. But in most cases, when it does come to emulators, Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, boom, that's topical. Where is Mortal Kombat losing money for that? That's just a game that's going to be lost in the past. So it's not the same thing as emulators. When it comes to making classic servers independently from the actual company itself, it is a detriment business-wise. And the last thing I wanted to add is that though this thing turned out to be true, I do still think that it's very unhealthy to think that all rioters are jacked into some giant hive mind of Satan and that they're all terrible, bad people. Yes, they've made missteps in the past. Yes, some shitters have worked at Riot, but that doesn't change the fact that there are 10,000 people working there, and most of them aren't shitters. So I think it's very unhealthy for people to expect Riot to consistently make missteps. But when you look at this one, holy fuck, Riot. You really let us down here, man. So now I wanted to ask you guys, how do you guys feel about it? Like, honestly, I know it's a sore spot for a lot of people, and a lot of people were super duper excited for Chrono Shift. A lot of you guys have DM'd me and told me to talk about it and told me to make content on it when it came out, and I was kind of excited to do so. But obviously, I sat there with bated breath because they're in their legal right to stop that. Do you guys think that Riot's in their right, or do you guys think that Riot's in their wrong? That's it. That's all I wanted to talk about. I know, it's another not edited video, but I enjoy doing these because I enjoy having heart-to-hearts with you guys. Anyways, I love you to death. See you tomorrow.